Hi, it's Katie from PolitiFact. It's time to announce our 2022 Lie of the Year. 2022 had some strong contenders, but no one weaponized lying to such horrific consequences more than Russian President Vladimir Putin. Putin leveraged the full Russian disinformation playbook to justify the invasion and distort the fallout across social media channels, in speeches, and in multiple languages. Now we recognize that Putin lying isn't very shocking. But what makes this our Lie of the Year is the ruthless and systematic way that Putin distorted his war. Putin's war has destroyed families, killed and injured hundreds of thousands of people, forced millions from their homes, and disrupted the world's energy supplies, all while suppressing news of the war's atrocities at home. Putin laid the groundwork for his war by denying Ukraine's status as an independent nation and accusing it of mass murder. Ukraine declared independence from Moscow in 1991, but Putin has long questioned its legitimacy. Independent observers have counted hundreds of lies coming out of Russian government accounts. And while it's hard to choose one lie as having more consequence than the others, a few really stand out. As Putin launched the war, he falsely accused Ukraine of genocide, and he said he would denazify the region.
Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима.
Experts around the world refuted Putin's claim of Nazi-led government killing in Ukraine.
These are not new. These did not emerge during the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. They have existed since the 2014 war in Ukraine, if not before, and they have it's something that Russian audiences have been listening to for 8 years.
Within hours of his speech, explosions rocked Ukrainian homes, sending people into bomb shelters and to trains in a panic. As the war went on, Russian propagandists offered outrageous denials of violence. Russia's Canadian embassy tweeted that the Russian army does not occupy Ukrainian territory, but Russia's own state-sponsored media had reported otherwise. Then, when Russia bombed a maternity hospital in Mariupol, the Russian embassy in London tweeted out that Ukrainians had faked the incident using crisis actors. The claim was ridiculous to anyone outside of the Russian government, but it found a co-conspirator on a far-right news outlet in the US who said it had the markings of a false flag by the US.
It looks like we have the makings of yet another false flag operation, this time in the far-flung land of Ukraine, where Biden and his cronies are desperately trying to cook up more conflict to distract from their monumental failures here in America.
When evidence emerged of a civilian massacre in Bucha, Ukraine, Russia's defense ministry falsely dismissed the reports on Telegram.
But there is an enormous amount of evidence, eyewitness testimony, reports by human rights organizations, credible news sites, open source research that have contradicted these claims, proved that these killings did happen under Russian occupation of the city.
Bucha officials confirmed 458 people were killed during the occupation. Most had been shot.
What I find disturbing is that Russian officials, Russian state media are now referring to the deaths of people in other areas of Ukraine as Bucha 2.0.
At least 100,000 Russian troops and another 100,000 Ukrainian troops have either been killed or injured in Putin's war. 40,000 Ukrainian civilians have been killed. At least 15 million people who fled Ukraine have become refugees. Putin's war altered the world economy and injected chaos into the world's energy supplies. Concerns for nuclear war haven't been this high in the US since 1962. Putin's lies are especially potent because of Russian censorship. Russia has blocked access to Facebook and foreign news outlets. A new law threatens people with imprisonment for sharing what the government deems to be false information about the war or Russian troops.
I think the biggest worry is definitely the information bubble that the Kremlin is creating in Russia. On an international level, I worry that the torrent of false claims will create confusion about what's happening in Ukraine. And that really only points to the need for an independence of fact-checking organizations and credible reporting.
Disinformation always has consequences, but in 2022, nothing has surpassed the impact of Putin's war launched on lies. From here, you can go to PolitiFact.com and read more about our 2022 Lie of the Year, and subscribe to this channel to see more fact-checking videos.